CAD 118, 3D modifying commands. We're going to look at 3D move, 3D rotate, and 3D scale, 3D array, and 3D align, filleting and chamfering solids. And so we're going to work on this practice exercise 7-1. And then we're going to work on 7.2 and 7.3. 7.4 is bonus. You can complete it for an additional 3 points, but it's not required. Alrighty, so exercise 7-1 can be downloaded right here. You can download that. I'm going to maximize my screen size. And so we have this, it looks to me like it would be a metal part with a hole drilled in it. And then on other, those are holes that go all the way through, and it's been cut in half. So it's just a widget. And if we look at the assignment, we're going to use these mirroring commands. And so we're going to look at 3D mirror. Then they want us to look at a couple of different methods for working in 3D. And if you back up into the textbook a little bit, they talk a little bit about gizmos and 3D move and 3D scale commands and 3D rotate commands. And so the way that these commands work is we can come back over here and we can use here the modify commands, starting with 3D move. And if you wait, my computer's not super fast, but we can get the help screen on the 3D move, and then you can get additional help on it by hitting the F1 key. We're just going to jump into it. And so what we were looking at here is you have this yellow piece of tubing and then a red piece of tubing. And what they're doing is they're just selecting it at point 1 and then giving it a base point at point 2 and a destination point at point 3. And so if we were to 3D move this, we can select it, hit enter. And then here's our axes, and they will match our user coordinate system axes. And so here's our z-axis, our y-axis, and our x-axis. And so let's grab x. We'll just move it. And it'll move along these planes. If you look at it, there's a plane shape right here and right here and here. And so you have these planes that you can move things in. It's really the same thing as grabbing the arrow. It just stays along that XY plane as you move that. And so that's the 3D move command. And then we can hit escape to cancel out of it. We look at another one of these 3D commands. I like the 3D rotate. I still use these more than I use the gizmos, but this is how I'll show you what I know, and then we'll look at some of these other things that the textbook author is suggesting. So with 3D move, it's gonna put this ball onto the screen that we'll be able to then select what we want to move. We select what we want to 3D rotate, hit enter. And then placement of the rotational axes is important. You typically want to put it in a known location so that as you start to work with the model, you can tie together these different coordinate systems to these different features. And so I'm going to grab it, and then I'm going to see if I can get it to move into the center point of the hole. Fighting with me. Let's try it again. 3D move. Select the object to move. Excuse me, rotate. And then should be able to place this right here. There we go. And then once you have the gizmo placed, it wants you to pick a rotational axis. And again, they match the user coordinate system. So we have red, blue, and green, and those relate to our X, Y, and Z axes. And so you can grab an axis, drive up, and use polar to keep it square. And then you can bring it out till you get another polar object snap. And then you're able to move it in these 90-degree increments, which is better than if you move it just by eye. Because then as you start to line things up to put together assemblies, you move them in the same increments. So with this exercise, what we're going to do is use a 3D mirror. So I'm just going to type in 3D mirror. I'm going to select the object to mirror. I'm going to hit enter. And then you want to make sure that your O snaps are on. And so I want to make sure that my object snaps are on, enabled. I have it for endpoint, midpoint, center, intersection, extension. And then on my 3DO snaps, vertex, center of face, node. And I'm just taking the defaults. I'm going to say OK to that. And then I'm still in the 3D mirror command, so I'm going to use this point here to define 3 points to make a plane. And you want to use known points, essentially. So I'm grabbing that corner, and then I'm going to gravitate over here and try to grab an O snap. There we go, center. And then I'm going to bring it over to this known point, or at least the geometry. And then now that we've defined the 3 points to make our 3D mirror line, if we say yes, it'll delete the other part. If we say no, it'll just create a second copy. So we'll just hit enter to take that. And there we have our component. And then if we union it together, we'll have one piece. If we wanted to, you could 3D move it, just for effect. And if I'll do a detail drawing, sometimes I'll grab and try to show people how the interior features go together. And so you get into pictorial projections, etc. And as we go through and finish this exercise out, you can turn it in this way or put it together, union it, that would be fine. And then we'll put a title block on it. And so let's just go ahead and let's just do 2 of them. We'll make one with a mirror. And so I'll just copy it using a regular copy command. So escape, 3D mirror and union it. Select the object, hit enter. Again, create a plane that will make up our 3D mirror lines and try to use known locations that you can find. We'll say no, deleting. Can union this one? So we'll select them both, hit enter. And what that does is it just fuses it into one piece. We'll go to put on a template, right mouse click, from template. Size mechanical. I just have it in my downloads. It's also in D2L. Double click in the model space viewport, set up an isometric view. I like to use the shading, conceptual, lock in the viewport. I'm not going to set it at a scale for these pictorials. I'm just going to name it bearing. And then fill out the title block. Practice 7-1. Alrighty. And we'll save that, turn that into the Dropbox, and that completes practice exercise 7-1.